Hey, I'm Henny from Pink Elephant Media, and today I'm going to talk to you about what platform to build your website on. Now, choosing your platform is crucial because this can actually make or break your business. And so really understanding the differences between the platforms out there will help you make a really informed choice. And the reason for that is a website has to do so much. It has to be recognized by the search engines. It has to give your prospects that are coming to your site the means to be able to get the information in the way in which they want it in a timely manner. It also has to process the traffic arriving to it. There's too many websites out there right now that are losing anonymous visitors arriving at their site simply because they haven't got the right technology on their website. That is free technology and it's out there. So really understanding the types of technology that will support your business and how that attaches to those websites is also crucial. So things like plugins, which are basically apps like your telephone, but for your business that will plug into your website, that will help grow your business exponentially and very quickly, are crucial to understanding how you as a business can utilize those. We also need to cut down on things like time processes, things that you may do as a business that are very time consuming that could be taken on by your website. So ultimately, we are looking for websites for businesses that really make them money. So I'm going to run through the pros and cons on every single platform. So if you're interested in hearing more about this, please click the link below and we will take you through each of these platforms and what they actually mean. So the first thing we're going to discuss is a self-build versus a website developer. Now, I understand we get loads and loads of questions about self-build sites, and I'm not going to beat around the bush here. They are great for getting you off the ground, for being pretty inexpensive to actually launch and get going. But if you're serious about business, it has a load of limitations to it. So one of the first things is that it often has lots of hidden costs to it. So it takes a long time to build. It has limited customization options. So as you expand, it's quite difficult to really get off the ground with this. You generally look for businesses that are doing well, they tend to look at a rebuild within about a year's time. So the hidden costs are you can spend a lot of time building this site, trying to get it together, and ultimately you'll end up a year later going through that process all over again when you could have been really spending time within your business doing it. Upgrades, if they even exist, cost quite a bit to add because although they look small amounts, they're added on a monthly basis. So really you could have had a web developer probably achieve the same thing with a good, better app extension for about £50 at a go, rather than £2.50 month on month for the next 5-6 years. So there's lots and lots of hidden costs sometimes within these websites. Often to allow you to move a box from here to here, it will cover the website in code. And that coding, it really confuses the search engine. So your search facility on these sites are really low. And we get called all the time by people saying, please, can you optimize my Wix site or my Yell site or any number of those? I'm afraid we turn them all down. The simple thing is we will not get a return on their investment for them. It's completely pointless optimizing these sites because although some of them appear, very few of them really do, and they won't compete with the new advances in SEO that have been around that corner. So you do get what you pay for. They also lack the ability to be able to add HTML code or JavaScript, which means some of the things that we use to really identify what traffic is doing on a website don't exist for these sites. So your growth options are very limited. In terms of the pros for this, it's pretty self-explanatory. They are pretty fast to launch. They cost about £30 a month. They're very low cost entry point. You don't need any coding skills. It's perfectly capable of handling most of the traffic that arrives to it. So all of those elements are great, but they are very, very limiting. Next, we're going to talk about Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, Opencart, Bespoke, WooCommerce, basically where you generally get a web developer for you. Now, this list is not exhaustive because we could be here forever going through every single website, but you get the idea and you'll begin to see what you need to look for when you are looking for a web developer. So Magento essentially is a platform that is fantastic in terms of it's flexible. It has lots of apps, so third-party integrations, which we would call plugins, that plug into the site. So pretty much anything that you want to do as your business grows, it will grow with it. It has extensive SEO function, and that is so important. We run a talk with the Growth Hub, which runs through how to build a website that makes money. So if you are local to the Gloucestershire area, please sign up. And we will take you through all of this and why SEO is actually important and show you the results that you get from SEO. But having an extensive SEO function is really, really important for a business. So it's scalable as your business will grow. It has a huge community of developers. So if you need something, it's pretty much have an out-of-box solution there ready and waiting for you, which essentially does cut down on developer time and expenses. The cons are the hosting can be quite expensive. They tend to be used for quite large, complex sites because they're relatively tricky to build these websites. So they do take a long time. So this is really for businesses that are quite well established, that have a large budget in which to develop. So those are the sort of cons that I would look out for, but it's still a great platform, has plenty of scope and capability to it. The next one is Shopify. Now, we get asked this a lot about Shopify versus WooCommerce, and we'll come to WooCommerce later. But Shopify essentially is fantastic. It's an out-of-box e-commerce solution. It's had tons and tons and tons of investment in it recently. It's a flexible platform with a huge amount of developers on there. So you can really pretty much add anything to your business that you want. It's a very cheap way of selling goods. The shops look great, has a fantastic interface. It's really easy to use, great reporting. The negatives of this is that their out-of-box solution is you'll very quickly realize that it isn't the be all and end all of having your website built. And that is because it is missing a lot of the functionality that you would expect, and therefore there's lots of hidden costs within that. And we'll run through some of those hidden costs that you would get, but simple things that you expect to be there aren't there, and then they're added on as a monthly cost. Now that monthly cost adds up and up and up and up and up. And the more you add and the more you do with Shopify, the more money that they will take from you. So the more successful you are, the more they benefit from it. Its SEO has limited functionality at the moment, although there are the plugins and the extensions there to be able to do them. They're clunky. Sometimes they're quite difficult to use on the SEO side, especially when you're looking at schema markup, which is really, really high growth strategy that you would use on something like a WordPress site that gets great visibility. So there are hidden costs within this that really people need to watch out for. The templates are fantastic, though they have, you are kind of stuck. So if someone is missing your call to action and you are just below the line that they might see it, moving it up can sometimes be very difficult because your templates are stuck. The minute you manipulate those templates, it can again create a lot of code around it, which causes problems. So looking at those elements and really deciding what it is that you want from your site. Does that template really fit what you're trying to get to and do? These are things that you really need to think about. I would say that Shopify really can, some of the apps can raise from a few dollars to £100 a month. And often you can add through WooCommerce those plugins very, very inexpensively to your site without an ongoing monthly cost. Most of the apps we own for WooCommerce, and therefore our clients don't have to pay an ongoing monthly cost for these apps, and therefore their costs remain very low because they're just paying for development time. So little things like that need to be looked out for. How much functionality do you really need it to have, and what function? So looking at some of these, your one-click upsells at checkout are an extra, and they're even an extra in the advanced package. Landing pages, an extra even in the advanced package. Personalization, an advanced feature, even in the advanced Shopify. And an advanced Shopify, you're looking at £299 a month. It's a lot of money to be running on a monthly basis and not even have the basic SEO function, reward points, subscription services, which are earning people a lot of money now through the e-commerce function. So I would say that these are things that really do need to be looked out for. The next thing is BigCommerce. Now, BigCommerce is exactly like Shopify, really. It's pretty evenly matched as a platform. It's another out-of-box solution, essentially. It easily handles traffic from eBay, Amazon, Google Shopping, has real-time rates from major carriers. The negatives of this are, again, the more your business does, the more successful you are, the more they're going to take money from you. And so therefore you want to look at exactly where your business is going, what functions you really think you need to have, and then really hone down on how much those actual costs are. The theme editor here is also a little bit outdated, and it requires a little bit of technical knowledge to get yourself off the ground, which is why Shopify has done so much better than this platform overall. Opencart, now that is B2B and B2C, and it offers a great platform, really. It's great for large scale multinational e-commerce presence. It can be integrated into multiple languages. It's compatible with most current gateway payments, although they do lead with PayPal, which is relatively expensive to get you off the ground. Has loads of add-on features out of the box, great reporting, easily integrates with all of those as well. So those are things that are really great about this platform. The cons are that if you get stuck, support and documentation is poor. So you do need a good developer to really support you through any issues that you may have with the site. It's quite hard to customize. And I know that with our clients, they quite like quite a lot of customization in regards to that. So really looking at what that needs to achieve, what you want to do with it is something to look for. It does lack SEO functionality, and I would say right now any site that lacks SEO functionality, especially with the introduction of voice search and now coming in, really should be avoided. It has serious limitations for growth. A lot of its themes are now outdated and not being improved. Also has quite a few bug fixes and is hard to update. So overall, although it's got lots of positives to it, it also has quite a few negatives, and SEO is one of those negatives that for us as an agency we would stay well away from, because we have seen the growth that SEO is now providing for our clients, and therefore we really feel that this is an area that this is a platform that we wouldn't touch. Now, Bespoke, we hear a lot about Bespoke. We're going to build you a bespoke website. Well, most websites are bespoke to the client that you build on, no matter what platform. When something is truly bespoke, it means it's actually coded especially for you, for your website. Now, that is great because it will work exactly how you want it to, in the way that you want to, and connect with whatever it is that you need it to connect with. And whilst these are fantastic if you need it, most businesses don't need a truly bespoke coded website built for them. things that you need to really think about are that once it is coded and all done, especially for you, you're really stuck with that developer. So if you fall out with them or there is a problem, you can't move away from them. And because there is no open source network or plugins that you can add to the site to extend and move very quickly, you will find that you have to have it coded again. So there's a lot of development work that's added to this that can be very expensive. And when you hit things like a pandemic, that can cause issues because you can't move very quickly. You can't just find an out-of-box solution that you can customize to yourselves. You are always going to be looking for a solution that needs to be developed. There's going to be a development time attached to that, and therefore you'll be a long way down the line behind everyone else. So those are things that really need to look at because it can really limit your growth as a business. The next thing is WordPress or WooCommerce. So WordPress is the B2B side of the business and WooCommerce is the B2C. Now we develop in WordPress, and the reason for that, because we could get developers that build in any platform on the web, and the reason why we build in WordPress is because we can pretty much do anything that a client wants with it in a very inexpensive way. There's a reason why 90% of the world's websites are built on WordPress, and that is because they really work. So what makes it so good? Well, firstly, it has tons and tons of plugins. Because 90% of the world's websites are on this platform, it has tons of plugins to support this. It's flexible, so it can change to your needs as and when you need them. So the pandemic has been very good because it's allowed us to put a ton of systems on our client sites very quickly, very inexpensively, to get them off the ground really quickly. It's user-friendly, and that will actually depend on the developer that you use, because some people say, I've had a WordPress site, don't like the back end very much. And that really comes down to who develops your site and how easy they make the back end system to use. Our sites come with full training, so our clients know exactly how to use those sites, and they use them very effectively without the need to come back to us time and time again. They're ultimately cheaper to develop as well, and that doesn't make them any less effective, but it just means because there's so much open source out there, we can adapt the plugins and the extras to our clients' requirements without needing to develop that time ourselves. They have good site security. They didn't at one point, and now they absolutely have fantastic site security. And that's because if 90% of the websites are on there in the world, they need that capability. They need to have that security, otherwise everyone would leave them. They could be tailored to your business. They can be multilingual. You can have lots of websites under one domain. So when you have clients and you have them wanting to have their own login area, they're fantastic for marketing. They have lots of marketing functionality and lots of plugins around that. And they're flexible. So for a business that is growing, they're great because it allows you to extend over time the capabilities that a client site would have without needing to redevelop again. The cons are, although there's loads of themes available, some of these are outdated. And if you are using themes, you can find very quickly that you might need to redevelop or put something onto a new theme. So you really do, if you're not using a web developer to build this platform, that's something that you need to be quite careful of. Initial setup for people who are new users or trying to develop their own site can be a bit of a pain if they don't have much experience. And if they don't have much experience, adding plugins, they can conflict with each other and sometimes cause some issues. So little things like that are quite problematic. And that's mainly because they don't have a central support system. So each of these themes or each of these add-ons are supported by the developer who developed them. That is why we would always suggest using a web developer, at least to do your initial setup. So if you want to cut your costs and add the images and the pictures and that kind of thing, I would by all means do that, but I would definitely be looking at getting the setup initially done by a developer who really knows what they're doing so that they can support you through that process. So if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. Really happy to help. And come along to the Growth Hub. We run talks there on how to build websites that actually make money, where we go through part of this is choosing the platform that is right for you, and then going through to what it actually takes to build a website that generally makes you money.